All right, welcome back to another segment of the LS430. So, to recap, last time we were together, I put brand new used heads on this car. Now, of course, like any big project like that, you're going to end up getting some issues popping up from that job. You missed a connector here, you did something bad over there, all that stuff. Now, one of the things I'm getting is a slight smell of antifreeze. And so I thought that this would be a good video to go over everything that could possibly be leaking on your coolant system. So if you need to replace anything or just need to troubleshoot to find out what's going on. So we'll start right here with the block. So from the engine, here is your one big pipe, one big hose coming off the block that way. So this is kind of like the upper radiator hose here. Then so this could be leaking. Now this is brand new, this is just a few months old, but you want to be looking around the sides, you know, connections on both sides, and of course feeling it. You want a nice firm feel. So that's the first thing that could be leaking. Second is, of course, the radiator itself. You want to look for any kind of leakage. 9 times out of 10, you can see all these little teeth right here on both sides. This is a radiator where it's got the metal core and the plastic caps. This is where it all crimps together. Usually this is where the leaks occur, around this area. So you would take a look at that, both top and bottom. Speaking of the bottom of the radiator, you also have your drain plug, which has an O-ring on there. Make sure the drain plug is properly seated and not leaking. Then we come to the cap. The cap could be leaking, and as just preventive measures, I'm going to be replacing the cap. This here is a rubber seal, and as it gets hotter and hotter and hotter and more pressure, if it gets too much pressure, this actually lifts up a little bit, and the coolant goes down here into this reservoir, which is another thing that could be leaking. So of course you want to take a look at that. Now obviously you can see there's plenty of fluid in here. I don't know if it's leaking out of here or not, but in my particular case it's interesting because I can smell it, but there's no drips. So once it gets too hot, it overflows into the overflow tank. Once there's not enough, this actually vacuums when the engine's turned off. When you turn the engine off, this will create a suction and pull the extra fluid into the radiator if you're low on the radiator fluid. If this is full and this is over full and it's starting to pour out in here, then it'll actually come out of here, down here, this tube here, and that actually is hard to see, but that just vents to the ground. So I need fluid in the radiator. Oh, I got too much, I'll put it in the reservoir. Oh, I got too much there, I'll just dump it. That's the thought process. So the sweet smell I could be smelling from the antifreeze is that everything is fine. It's just that I'm over full, and it could be putting more into here, and this is too much, and then dumping it out just a drip at a time. That's why I'm getting the sweet smell. But continuing on, so the front of the engine, this is the thermostat housing here, so you could be actually leaking in here. This is the lower pipe to the radiator. You also have this little, it's hard to see, it's a little short stubby pipe hose with a T on it, and then this hose here comes up into the throttle body. So this hose here could be bad. This little hose down there could be bad, which is hard to see. And then there's just a cap on the other side over here. Let's see if I can get a better angle for you guys. So that right there is the T. There's the cap, the metal cap, and it goes up, and then it joins up this hose here into the throttle body. Now for that, I'm going to replace it with some just generic stock hose. I can't find that listed anywhere. The next one, again from the throttle body, is here. This is just a straight piece of pipe that's just wrapped around from the top to the bottom. So again, the generic part. And then there's a third one that's way back here and goes into the block here. Now, the easiest way to access that is just to pull out the two big long screws here, bolts here, and then the two nuts there. Just connect this and this. But then just pull the throttle body out some, and then you'll get good access to the to the rear of that. To replace those, to get a pair of pliers onto the springs. And also take a look at the spring clamps, make sure that they're good. From there, we go towards the back of the car. Now this is a vacuum line to create vacuum for the power brake. So this is not part of the cooling system, but this is. This comes off the manifold down here, the rear crossover manifold, which is kind of hard to see. The clamp for that is actually right there. That's where the hose stops. Going down, it's a metal piece. So this is all metal connected into the actual housing right down in there, which is really hard to see. Zoom a little bit there. So that is all one piece with a metal pipe pressed into it, and then it comes up, and then just behind this wire loom is the actual clamp, and then the end of the hose ends right there. The hose itself ends right there and comes up to here. Now, I believe this is the right hose, and it's sold as an elbow hose trimmed to fit. So I'll have to take that hose out and put up against this one and measure it and then trim it. So I'll have the extra off there, which actually might help my cause, because when you come to the other side of the car, there is another small hose doing the exact same thing, but on this side, which is right there. Maybe that excess that I trim off will be enough to do that. I don't know. But that is another part of the system in there. And again, as I'm explaining all this, I'm looking for leaks because I can't find any. So here we got I don't know if these are for bleeding or what they're there for, but they're there. Then we come to the heater. This thing here is just a simple valve to allow the hot water into the heater core inside the car. If you got the air conditioning on, it's going to close, and it's going to bypass. It's going to bring the water and bypass the going into the actual heater core. These two go into the heater core here. It actually shuts it off. So this is coming in, and it gets stopped right there, so it doesn't go any further. When you need the heat, then it'll open up and allow the hot water to go into here, do its thing in the heater core, and then come out this one here. So then these two pipes here are also subject to leakage. And so here is one of them. And maybe like that. So that's going to be tough to get in there and replace, but it will. All of these, by the way, so far are gates. And I got the best price I could find was at Rock Auto. So shout out to Rock Auto for giving me the best deal on these. And they told me they would be here in like 5 days, and they're here in 3. So, and I paid the $0 for the cheapest shipping. So very quick, very happy with them. So the 19298 is from the heater core back to the engine, and then 19297 is from the engine to the actual heater valve, shutoff valve. So these two will be replaced, but I also have this one here that I don't have. I do not have this one here, which is from the valve to the heater core itself. So now looking around any other places, There is that crossover pipe down in there that I had to pull out when I pulled the heads out. That has a gasket on both sides. Super difficult to see. I do not want to pull the intake manifold off again to see if that's leaking. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the idea that I overfilled this. I got too much in here and it's overflowing in here, out here. So I'm actually going to siphon a little bit out of this and see if that makes a difference. So what I'm planning on doing is replacing this hose with the stock heater hose here, replacing the one down there with the same stock heater hose, and replacing this one here. I have to look at my supplies here. I don't know if this one's going to be big enough or not to replace the other one. So I would like to replace this one as well, going to that T. So I would replace the T, I would replace this long one, I would replace the C looking thing, and then the smaller one as well. So that would be including the two main radiator hoses. Every hose in the front of the car is replaced. In the back of the car, this one, I believe, is this one, 18079. I'm missing the one that's back there, and I'm missing the one that goes to the heater core from the heater valve. I also, since I'm getting a engine not being able to come to operating temperature, I replaced the temperature sensor with a cheap Chinese knockoff. I have a new one coming of that. It's a little bit better quality, so hopefully that'll take care of that. So but this is actually kind of an interesting thing, because this is a cheap knockoff one, but when the other one broke, it gave me no temperature reading on the dash. Makes sense. This one is giving me perfect temperature reading on the dash. So I don't know if that's the problem or not. However, I could have possibly gotten some debris in the cooling system. So while I have the coolant drained down, I'm going to pull this off and see if I have anything stuck in the actual thermostat itself, keeping the thermostat open, which would keep the engine from reaching operating temperature. So first things first, I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to drain out as much as I can with the drain on the bottom into a bucket. So I don't want to lose this fluid. I've been losing too much radiator fluid and spending too much money on it. So I'll drain out the radiator fluid as much as I can take it out, and then I will replace these front three here and see if I have the hose size for this one here, as well as opening this up to check for that, as well as replacing what I have back here. I need to do some more research to find if I can find those extra few hoses to replace all of the cooling. Otherwise, I believe this new sensor here comes tomorrow. So I might hold off refilling the coolant until tomorrow. I don't even know how much I'll get done today. So that is the first thing I want to do. And there are other things I need to do as well. So it's not like I have to get this done and then nothing else. No, I've got plenty to do. So I will continue on with that. But this is a good starter for anybody that's looking to try to figure out which hoses need to be replaced. Alrighty, got the intake manifold portion of the part off. Got this hose replaced. Got this one replaced. And then actually on the throttle body itself, this sequence stays with the throttle body. So that made it nice and easy. So there's two of the old ones. They're actually kind of strong and pliable. Unfortunately, I had to cut this one off to get this off, but he's had some miles left on him, so that's good. The other one here, basically the same. I would say this is probably pretty, obviously that's been replaced prior to me buying the car. So just this one hose here is what the one I'm missing here. And I took this off and you can see there's nothing stuck in there. It looks like it's closing quite nicely. And then of course every time you do this is called a jiggle valve. Every time you put a thermostat in, you want that jiggle valve straight up at the 12 o'clock position. That way if there's any air in the system, obviously the air is going to bubble up and it's going to go out that way instead of staying trapped in there. So I can bolt that back up with confidence. So except this one hose right here, I've replaced everything from a cooling point of view up front. Then I'm going to replace those two for there and then that one for over there. And I'll see what I feel after that. But looking at these hoses here, these are good. These have a lot of life left in them. Obviously, because I cut this one, I have to throw this one away. But these two I might put in my junk pile for, I don't know what. But, so those two are done, and then those two go. Or two here, plus one there, three to go. Alrighty, we've got all the hoses back on that I wanted to change. So I'm missing that little one right there. Otherwise, everything up front's done. I got these two, this one here and this one here done. The third one down there is missing. The one back there off of this line is missing. But that one is done over there. So I'm thinking that that should be good for now. And all these hoses that I pulled off, they're all pretty pliable and feel pretty good. So I'm not really freaked out about the ones that I did not replace. Now I told you I had to cut that one. That's a pretty good size piece that could possibly go on the one that's down on this one right here down there, but that's really hard to get to, and I'm kind of done for today. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and fire it up, let everything circulate for a little while and see what happens. But I think we've all seen engines start before. Well, you know what? Why not? I'll treat you to a LS430 start, cold start. So that's nothing to be excited about, but it is hopefully coming together. That way if I screwed it up and fluid's gonna be shooting everywhere, now you get the privilege of seeing that. Well, that's to be expected. Got a little bit of water on the belt. That's a cold start. I can smell a little bit of fuel. That's normal. But I don't see anything coming out of the back as far as smoke goes. So I will take that as a good sign. I don't see anything leaking. You see anything leaking? No, I don't see anything leaking. Put the heat on to circulate the water through the heater core. So get some what do I got here? Oh, taillight failure. Yeah, that's weird. That's going to be a whole nother project because it is it's usually this one right here. Yeah. well, it's that one. You see, that one's all lit up. It is actually the wiring and the connector. I don't know, whatever. But it's a connector and it's a pain. You just can't put a new connector on it, so it's... And obviously I beat on it enough because it's not showing anymore. Did that come back on? I didn't even see it. No. Yeah, well. Anyways, you can tell the heater core is working, the valve's working, because now this is really long. So you can see it was down here and it's now gone all the way up here, so it's opened this valve here. So that will make it so that the water can flow through the heater core, bring the heat into the car, and warm me up on those chilly nights. And then now I'll just turn the temperature all the way down again. All right, and then we'll go back out there and you'll see that that valve is much... See how it's all the way down here now? So that's how you can tell that. So, in conclusion, I've changed all the hoses that I had, with the exception of those few that I showed you. And now I'm going to go ahead and let it drive for a little bit and see if I still smell the sweet smell of the radiator fluid. I still have one more thing to do, which is I've got a leak on oil, so I think one of the valve cover gaskets did not seal properly, so I have to get into that. But otherwise, that's the hoses. Hope that helps someone.